going on, guys? Got another build video for you today, and this video is going to be on the new Dex Sybaris, which was released last week as part of Warframe's 3rd year anniversary, and is fast becoming one of my favourite weapons. Its damage type is primarily slash, but with a decent amount of impact and slight puncture, which means it's great all round as long as you're able to compensate for the lack of armor penetration. For example, this weapon will completely annihilate anything when running it in a full group with corrosive projections or with an augmented link trinity, but even without that, it's still an absolute beast if you're running with a corrosive element, as long as you're able to be accurate. The reason for that being just how hard this thing can crit when modded correctly, which makes landing headshots absolutely devastating, which is one of the reasons why I love this weapon so much. Because unlike a lot of the strongest weapons currently in the game, this weapon really rewards the accuracy, not to mention the weapon itself is pretty pleasing on the eye. Now, there are multiple ways to build this weapon effectively, but in my opinion, to really make use of its best features, you're going to want to run with a high crit build, and if like me, you're addicted to red numbers, you're going to want to have an Argon scope mod and have the accuracy to pull off consistent headshots, but we'll get more into the alternatives to that a little bit later. First, let's do a quick run through of my main loadout. So first of all, we of course have our Serration and Split Chamber, but next we've got a maxed Point Strike, which will take our already high base crit chance from 35% up to around 87%, which is already pretty damn good. Next we throw on our Argon scope, which is going to send our crit chance through the roof whilst aiming every time we land a headshot, the damage of which we will increase with a Vital Sense mod. Now this setup is what's going to allow for those consistent red crits, but for the next mod you have 2 to 3 viable options. If you really want to push those damage numbers as high as you can go, then you're going to want to go with a Bladed Rounds mod. The disadvantage to this mod though is the buff only triggers on kill with a requirement to aim and doesn't offer you much punch through, unlike your second choice of mod, a Shred. Throwing a maxed out Shred here will instead offer you a bit more flexibility in being able to punch through targets and light cover, as well as a slight boost to your fire rate, which is always useful. Personally, I run with both of these mods for different situations. When running group missions, either with full corrosive projections or a decent team setup where I can focus on doing as much damage as possible to single targets, I prefer to run Bladed Rounds as I can maximize my damage on a specific high threat target that we want to take down as quickly as possible. But whenever I'm running solo or in a public game, random sorties or alerts, I'll throw on the Shred, which will offer me the flexibility to handle most situations without having to worry about multiple targets rushing towards me, etc., or having my line of sight blocked by cover or other enemies. Now, a third option you have to mod here is Fanged Fusillade. However, the only time I use this mod is when I know I'm going up against Infested, at which point I'll actually remove my Argon scope due to it being very difficult to consistently land headshots on Infested, and I'll combine Fanged Fusillade with a Bladed Rounds. I mostly run with Corrosive on all my public and solo builds, as any special requirements I can usually cover with my secondary weapon. So unless you're going in a group of 4 corrosive projections, in which case you're probably going to run with a radiation or viral, I'd suggest corrosive for most situations. I think that's everything, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments, and as always, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already subscribed, consider doing so for more Warframe content coming soon. Alright guys, until next time, take care.